A business can be a lot like a jigsaw puzzle, assembled mindfully, one piece at a time. You start with the edges, define it, and then fill it in with all the details that make the big picture come together. For Kaylin Marcotte, whether it's a puzzle or a business, the big picture is all about art.
From the beginning, I kind of wanted to reposition puzzles out of kind of toy and games aisle and more into like home, gift, lifestyle. Business is JIGGY Puzzles, and my role is founder and CEO.
JIGGY wants people to experience art in a whole new way by working with female artists from all over the world to create the most beautiful puzzles you'll ever see. From the way they scout their artists to the way mindfulness is used in the office, this is how JIGGY has grown to what it is today. Help us piece this together, Kaylin. What is JIGGY?
I was on screens all day long, and so I was looking for a way to unwind and unplug, and I wanted to get away from screens and do something with my hands, and I rediscovered my love of puzzles, and I started doing about 1,000-piece puzzle every week, and so was constantly looking for more, buying more, going to toy stores, online, and all the ones I could find were just, I felt really outdated and kind of cheesy, grandma's puzzles, stock photography, the same cardboard box, and the idea planted then of just what would it look like if I kind of made my dream puzzle, and what parts of the puzzle experience would I want to innovate on and kind of take my approach to. And ultimately what came together and what I ended up launching with in 2019 is JIGGY, and we partner with emerging female artists and turn their artwork into the puzzle design. So that was kind of pain point number one, of just the design itself that you're spending 8, 10, 12 hours with, living inside of, putting together piece by piece. And part two is, what do you do with the puzzle once you're done? And for me, I was pretty, sentimental of these hours I had just spent. I didn't want to tear it apart right away. And so we include puzzle glue with each JIGGY so that you can preserve it once you're done, bind the pieces, and display it as wall art. So our mission is to get people away from screens, kind of reconnecting with downtime, mindfulness, and then supporting our artist partners who we do profit sharing with and get a percentage of every sale.
What has the relationship with your artists been like throughout this journey?
It's honestly my favorite and kind of the aspect of the business that really keeps me going when I run out of energy. And I really approached it from both, what would look good, just completed and finished and something you'd want to frame on the wall, and also what would make for a really fun puzzle experience, certainly like detail and color and saturation and layers. And so I just started with that lens in mind, going to shows and fairs, and found the first 6 artists we worked with for our launch collection. Myself reached out to them, wasn't really sure what, if they would think it's silly or just like not an application of their work, they were interested in. But actually it was a great reception. I think they were open to kind of seeing what the experience would be like with people then, puzzling their work, and something I didn't necessarily expect, but has become a really special aspect, is that relationship between the customer puzzler and the artist, where, you have studied every detail of their work, like truly. And so there's such an appreciation, for the work and for the detail, and kind of this intimacy, because you kind of feel a bit of like ownership in having recreated it also. So like you feel like part of the creative process. They'll discover an artist through the puzzle and then go on their site and buy their other work. So that's been a really, really kind of special thing to watch happen now that we have had some visibility. We have a lot of inbound. So we have basically like an open submission process, and any artist can submit their work. And actually, our next collection that's launching this spring was the result of our first community art voting contest. And so I think we had over 500 submit their work, and our community of puzzlers went through and voted for their favorites. And so that is the winners of that are our next collection launching soon.
Kaylin makes an important point about getting their customers intimately involved. According to a report by PwC, 73% of customers identify that the experience a brand gives is one of the most important factors when it comes to purchasing decisions. It ranks only behind price and quality. Keep this in mind, especially since 54% of U.S. consumers also say that customer experience at most companies needs improvement. Well, most companies, except JIGGY. Now, as someone who values mindfulness, we're curious, how do you approach work-life balance?
I think for a long time with work-life balance, I would try to have both like at the same time and have every day feel balanced, or like every week feel balanced. And I'm like a bit more of an extremes person. And so what actually works better for me is to not try to be a good founder at the same time that I'm good friend, daughter, girlfriend, sister. Like, I just think it comes down to clear expectations. And so they're especially like our peak Q4. I'm just like, I'm going to carve out some time. Let's see when works. But like, honestly, most of the next 8 weeks, like I'm in a bit of a hole, probably not going to like respond to texts in a couple hours, And so it releases like the guilt of trying to be good at both at the same time. And so, but equally, when I carve out space, like I have no guilt about not checking my phone and not being responsive to emails right away. And so I think for me, I find it really hard to be half minded or half available. So I kind of have tried to flip it on its head and just not, and do one thing well at a time. And then if the month feels overall balanced, like that feels like a win to me.
What was a challenge you experienced in the early stages of JIGGY?
The things that have truly been hard, I think just deciding policies around some customer service issues. How do you balancing like being a small business and having to the unit economics make sense, but then also just be generous with like customer service issues or lost packages and reshipping and some of the things that are just like the cost of doing business. Defining what your approach and policies are has like actually been a bit less straightforward than I would have thought. So honestly, some of the hardest moments have just been around like the lack of control, and then the downstream like disappointing customers and like missing a moment or a sales window or holidays or something, and just kind of having to be okay with that or figure out plan B, C, D, E. Yeah, that's been hard.
Can you offer some more advice for aspiring entrepreneurs?
And I think the more you grow, bigger kind of conversations I feel like on the one hand, the more experience you have or the bigger your brand gets, the less you should have it because you did this thing and you have this big brand. But then you're also like hopefully leveling up in bigger conversations, in bigger rooms. And ultimately, I think, I heard someone recently kind of trying to reframe imposter syndrome of like, we should embrace it because like hopefully that means you are stretching your comfort zone and like you are leveling up. And so rather than seeing fear or imposter syndrome as an obstacle, like seeing it as actually like a good sign that like you're on the right track.